So during the 19th century, music education was in a very vulnerable position because there was a lot of economic crisis going on, and so the first thing the schools would cut would be music, because a lot of people still at that time did not believe it was valuable or important. And there's also a shortage of teachers who could teach music competently. Within the last 35 years of the 19th century was a period of major development in music education. A lot of things are happening with that. So, the scientific method of teaching. So, the pragmatic administrators were just interested in promoting the industrialization, very organized way of teaching. They didn't believe teaching or education should be fun and enjoyable. It was just something that was organized, just do all your work and everything. And so teachers began to develop materials and methods that could teach music in that scientific way. And so music was introduced to schools as a scientific method that could have mental, physical, and moral benefits. And according to Thomas, music education was supposed to be systemized and become part of the graded course, while teachers and pupils being held to a strict account of their work in this as other studies by term and annual examinations. So basically they're making music education like the other subjects, and how they have tests and books that they learn from, textbooks and stuff like that. Okay. So the teaching process. So the textbooks and exams were introduced to help children learn music. So the first graded music series was introduced shortly after the Civil War, and they were designed to teach students how to read music and not just sing by rote. But Mason believed that children should be taught to read, to sing by rote because of the Castellanian. But then there's others that were starting to believe that printed music and sight singing were more important and should be the focus of teaching. And so that created a pedagogical controversy that lasted pretty much throughout the end of the 19th century. And so also at that time, music teaching was given to the responsibility of the classroom teacher, and the specialists in music were promoted to a role of a supervisor. So they would come and they had certain times they would come and just observe the class and give tips and just make sure that the teachers were teaching the right things. So these are some important people. George Loomis, he was most known for introducing the stack lines as a way of putting notes along the lines, but he didn't use clefs or meters. It was just the notes, or he didn't use key signatures or anything like that. So that was an important step in the way music was being written. And then Mason, who was known for rote singing and teaching children that should be the initial experience that they have is first learning to sing by rote, and then eventually reading music. And so he wrote the National Music Course, which was really important, and it even gained international recognition. So that was cool. And then Benjamin Jepson, who wrote the Elementary Music Reader, which had material for 8 grades, and he was very successful as a teacher as well. And then other courses that were designed were the Normal Music Course, which was emphasizing sight singing, and then the Public School Music Course, which used syllables for teaching rhythm, which is solfege. So the concept of movable do was becoming more popular and was more universal. And so this method, the tonic or first scale degree, was called do. It wasn't just C wasn't always do, it was just whatever the first scale degree was, they called do. And so, and at this time, music education was still primarily focused on voice, and all the materials were just for didactic purposes. And then the school music expanded and was more focused on methods. So this was one of the methods for teaching students how to read music. So I'm gonna have us just sing a scale with the solfege, just so we can see how they would sing. And this is also the way they would read their sight singing music. So the D, of course, is the do, and then like the punctuation marks were represented like different musical things like rests or like durations of notes and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna have us sing from do to do, starting
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Okay, so high school wasn't really introduced until later. It was the last part of the school system to put into place. Because before that, the classes only went to 8th grade, and then after that, 4 years of secondary school were added. And the northern cities were able to progress at a faster pace in the south due to various reasons, politically and economically. And most high schools taught vocal music from the beginning, and like they didn't like add it later. It was just from the beginning they started teaching vocal music, and they were integrated into programs such as graduation. They would have the seniors perform at graduation in the bigger schools, and then smaller schools would have like underclassmen perform as well. And then some did like operettas and oratorios or stuff like that. And then later, instrumental music education was added. So that was the beginning of band, orchestra, and all those things. And orchestra was the most popular at the time. So the earliest music teachers came from the singing schools, but then later normal schools for music teaching were developed. Julia Crane's Music Institute offered students their actual experience teaching in a school, so they could have, it was like a model school, so it wasn't an actual classroom, but it was set up like an actual classroom, so they could have that experience. And she believed that younger students should be taught to sing through rote, and then as they got older, should learn how to sight sing. And she thought supervisors should be good musicians, however, they should also realize the significance of pedagogy and help to balance the curriculum of music educators. And then summer schools were sponsored by the textbook companies to help further their companies and also help train music supervisors. And women were very prominent in the music education field, and they outnumbered men 10 to 1. So.
Oh, I have to push the button.
Okay. So the idea of child-centered education was becoming more developed, I guess. So there was an emphasis on making the teaching process enjoyable for children and meeting their needs, and not just thinking of them as like, okay, here's all the stuff you have to do. It was more like we're trying to engage them and make it more focused on them rather than the teacher just standing up there and having a lecture and just talking and the kids just sitting there and listening or not listening. So the Temple School, he decorated his classroom and made it look nice and feel welcoming and comforting. And he made sure the kids were engaged by singing with them, doing dancing and plays. And he also had a school newspaper that they could be involved in. Okay. And then Froebel believed that the role of a teacher was to help students discover things rather than just like giving them knowledge and just teaching them like just by putting information in their heads, like actually having them do activities to discover things on their own. So he created kindergarten to help kids before they entered the actual school system to just be more creative and play together and just develop their creativity and social skills.